Hey, what's up, team? Welcome back. When you do create a track, whether it's an audio track, software instrument, drummer, you are in fact creating a channel strip that goes along with the track. Each channel strip has its various components, as you can see on this illustration here, created by Edgar Rothermick. Both of these channel strips, the one on the left, an audio channel strip, the one on the right, a software instrument track, they have various components that are related and also differ depending on what we are looking at. So I want to take some time to look at the channel strips and see how they relate and see how they're different. So let's go ahead and take a quick look here. We're looking at the mixer inside of Logic, and if you want to customize this part of the program, you're going to want to go into View, Configure Channel Strip Components. If I were you and you're not utilizing external MIDI instruments, I would also disable everything from this menu. The channel strip components menu item up here is exactly the same as configure channel strip components. The only difference is it's kind of a quick menu that allows you to select and disable a feature really quickly. Whereas if I hit Option X, this really gives me the ability to make any and all choices, and I can make as many as I want to as well. So this is the way that I like my setup. As you can see, I have audio device controls disabled. Why is that? Well, if you look at the channel strip here, if you have a third-party interface that connects to Logic in such a way that allows you to change the preamp gain inside of Logic, then you will see this kind of animation. In my case, I have Universal Audio. They do not have a relationship, and so because I'm not looking at it, I have no vested interest in utilizing it. Below that, the channel strip type and the number. We talked about the various channel strip types. For audio, you're going to find the word audio. For software instruments, you're going to find the word instrument. So right below that, we have the channel strip settings button. I like to think of this as my most often used channel strips. These are go-to settings and instruments that I like to utilize. Right below that, the gain reduction meter. So if you're utilizing a compressor or a limiter, you can see how much gain reduction you are putting on the signal. Below that, the EQ thumbnail. Some of you may not need this or want this. I particularly like to know the EQ curve in real time, so that's going to work for me. Track number 2 has MIDI effects enabled. Now, of course, an audio track is not going to allow for that. And so it's just going to be a blank lane here. But in terms of the software instrument, we can utilize the arpeggiator, chord trigger, all MIDI effects. All right, the input. Are we connecting to an interface? Are we routing something? Or are we using a software instrument? Right below the input, we have all of the audio effects inserts. To date, we can use up to 15 in Logic Pro. Right below that, sends. So if you want to create the relationship between bus and send that over to an auxiliary, this can all be done here. We have the output, which allows us to route things to various places. And also, if you have hardware, this kind of creates the relationship in that way. We have a group lane, which allows us to create various groups for mixing purposes, for organizational purposes. The automation lane is responsible for the automation mode that we are currently going to select. So if you want to go ahead and be in action and create some automation, you'll choose either touch or latch. And then once you're done with automation, always go back to the default read mode. The panorama knob, of course, we understand that if we control click it, we have access to a couple of different settings, depending if you're utilizing a stereo or a mono track. A mono track only has pan and binaural pan if you're taking advantage of the surround world. Right below the pan knob, we have VCA groups. This is really good for post-production, for mixing, mastering. The channel strip itself, which has the level meter on the left-hand side, and then a peak display showing you how hard your track is peaking. Right below that, all things mute, solo, record, and input for audio tracks. For a software instrument track, you're not going to see those same features. And then finally, at the very bottom, we have track name, track number, and then any and all notes that you may have written inside of your project notes. Again, if you want to customize any of this, option X will take you to channel strip configuration. And this is where I enabled notes at the very bottom. So just in case you want to send yourself a couple of reminders or a collaborator a couple of reminders. Control surface bars was something I didn't mention. If you use MIDI controllers, Logic can detect them and allow you to know what they are currently controlling within the program. I do think it's important to take the time to understand the channel strip, how it's built, why it's built, and how it can actually help you. So just take the time here to understand how this is going to work for you. For those of you that are confused about this surround panner, this is only for surround sound, and we're not going to be getting into that. So go ahead and discard this from your memory. But generally speaking, everything else is fair game and can really be a contribution to your workflow as a Logic Pro power user. All right, I'll let you get to work, and I'll see you in the next video.